My first patient in my first clinical was an older gentleman. I don't actually remember much about what had landed him in the hospital. Let's be honest, I didn't know much about what things could even be wrong with a person. I was wildly proud of my newly learned skills in taking blood pressures and looking at oral mucosa. But only 2 hours into clinical, and the nurse I was shadowing had already said at least 27 words I didn't know. My professor asked at least 8 questions I didn't know the answer to, and I was suddenly realizing that I was 147% out of my element. But at that moment, the patient had started to run a fever. The nurse was busy assessing the patient and feeling overwhelmed by all the things that she was doing that I didn't know how to do. I sat down next to the patient. He turned his head to the side, eyes bleary and wide, and said to me, "I'm scared." I took a deep breath, and in this patient's very vulnerable moment, it took all I had in me not to say, "Yeah, bro, me too." I think all of the graduates today have similar stories, probably a few of our faculty as well. We've all had moments where we felt out of our element, didn't know what would happen next, and found ourselves afraid. Just consider this virtual graduation, online clinicals, Zoom meetings. None of us are in our element right now. But that's one of the beautiful things about the University of Texas at Austin School of Nursing. All of us have one of these stories. And so we're all there for each other in a unique way as we pursue competent, compassionate care. We learn that through each other's support, being out of our element is our element. Today we celebrate a wide variety of nursing achievements, including the leaders of nursing, the master's, postmasters, and doctoral level nurses. Nurses soon to be advanced practice nurses and nurse researchers graduate today, ready to change the way we think of and implement nursing, to serve patients at the bedside and beyond. We celebrate graduate students, Masters of Science in Nursing, postmasters, Doctorate of Nursing, and Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing, who know that they have too much greatness in them to be contained in one degree. I know many in my cohort dream of being in your shoes someday and look up to your achievements. I know many of you have dreamed of this day in some capacity. May you see how we, and the world, look up to you and hold pride in your achievements. You've battled through clinicals, papers, dissertations. You've jumped into situations completely out of your element. And now you will leave here today equipped to face new challenges and change so many aspects of nursing for the better. Today, we also celebrate my cohort, the new Bachelor of Science in Nursing nurses. A few short years ago, I desperately hoped to end up here, but I didn't realize who I would be. The University of Texas at Austin School of Nursing program has transformed us from students into nurses. We no longer see papers, numbers, assignments. We now see patients as holistic people as we address their nursing needs with competent, compassionate care. It has also transformed us from a group of strangers into a strange sort of family. As the pandemic has changed our day-to-day greatly, I already miss my regular exposure to this amazing group of nurses. Already, I miss sitting in lecture and, after a mediocre joke, hearing 5 full minutes of one classmate's distinctive laughter. I actually miss arriving early in the morning to study for an exam and being greeted by smiles and nods from other bleary-eyed students. I didn't think I would, but I miss the poor, overworked side elevator and the shared glances of horror whenever it makes a funny noise. However, I do know that I can still call several of these amazing nurses and ask them to pray for me. I can call these classmates turned friends and somehow laugh about how out of my element I feel. Some of you know, because I've already called to say, I miss touching other humans, and the NCLEX is hard, and why do the shadow health patients look so creepy? As we leave this program, I know that I'll root for each and every one of you as you land new jobs, take on new challenges, and change lives. I know I'll have this cohort rooting me on in turn. We jump into a world hectic with unknowns, onto different paths, into places out of our element, but we do not jump alone. Finally, today we also celebrate the support. No student, BSN, MSN, Postmasters, DNP, PhD, or any other combination of letters got here today without incredible support. With the recent construction on the front of our building, students had to go around to the back of the building and walk through a hallway of student services offices to get to class. Most mornings, as we tromped through, several staff stood in their doorways and said hello, asked how we're doing, greeted us with smiles. That's one of my favorite things about the University of Texas at Austin School of Nursing. Everyone here, from the security guard to our faculty, is cheering us on. Incredible faculty, even incredible advisors and counselors have listened to us cry, comforted us in times of shock and stress, have been there when the harsh realities of nursing weigh heavily on us. Last year, one professor worked Thanksgiving Saturday just so a student can make up missed clinical hours. That doesn't happen in other schools. So thank you, faculty and staff, whether you are nurses or not, for displaying the heart of nursing in such a poignant way. Family and friends, so many of you have served as inspiration in the difficult times. It was my grandmother who helped me realize that my desire to be a nurse is more than that. It's a calling. When I had just begun the nursing program, my grandparents had recently moved into assisted living. Following a series of strokes, my grandmother was moved into a nursing home. I used my spring break of sophomore year to fly to their out-of-state facility. My grandmother was a nurse, a PhD level nurse actually, founded the nursing school at her local university nurse. But to me, she was always just Grandma Vaughn. In her room hung a picture of me in my burnt orange scrubs. Every time a staff from the nursing home came into her room, my grandpa would interject, "You know, LaVaughn is a nurse, and this is our granddaughter. She's a nurse." And I would say, "Well, I'm going to be a nurse." And he would say, "Pshaw," and Grandma would smile. We repeated this about 50 times. I started my first ever clinicals a few months later. You know, the ones where you feel like you have no idea what's going on. I'll be honest, a lot of tears were shed that semester. But when it got hard, I thought about my picture in my burnt orange scrubs on my grandmother's wall. I thought about her perseverance, the perseverance only a nurse can have. I thought about her tinkling laugh, present even when her life was so hard. During my clinicals, I got to care for stroke patients, people just like my grandmother. When older patients apologized profusely for needing extra help, I got to say, "I'm here to help you and it's okay to ask for my help." I told them I want to be here, and I meant it. I meant it because I saw in these patients my grandparents. I worked harder every day because I saw in my patients my mom, my dad, my siblings, my friends, my loved ones. I know the same stands for so many of the nurses graduating today. Family and friends, please know we do what we do because of you. In January of last year, I got to visit my grandparents again. My grandpa said the same thing about me being a nurse. My grandma smiled her same smile. The effects of the strokes had taken away her words, but she listened, engaged, as I told her about nursing school. She nodded knowingly when I said it was hard. She smiled when I said I did it partly for her. She beamed as I processed that nursing was becoming so much more than a career. She hugged me tight when I said goodbye. I didn't realize at the time that that would be my last goodbye. My Grandma Vaughn passed away that summer, but her memory did not. I see glimmers of her every time that I walk into a hospital. Her memory is in the extra nice nurse who helps me when I'm lost, the patient learning it's time to enter a new chapter of life with grace, the instinct in myself to hold a patient's hand instead of standing to the side. The graduates here all have someone that they see glimmers of in their nursing practice. People who have helped develop their nursing practices from careers into callings. Family and friends, thank you for being those inspirations. In the day-to-day, even beyond inspiration, you all have also sat through a lot of gross stories. You know it, we know it because we keep telling them to you. You know you're supporting a nursing student when you listen to excitedly told stories about a recent patient's bowel movement, with your mouth full, during dinner, and not along. My fiance jokes that the amount he's heard me talk about the NCLEX, he's pretty sure that he could take it at this point and pass. No matter what degree we stand here having accomplished, we have all felt lost and out of our element at some point in this program. And in those points, you, family, and friends stepped into that place with us. Right now, you step into a unique world of risks and unknowns just by loving a nurse. And none of us would be able to bear that burden without you. Thank you for your continuous support. Each of you are lifting up the next generation of nurses and nurse leaders, and your impact will touch thousands of lives. This semester, we finished up our clinical rotations by spending time in complex care. I was recently in the intensive care unit, the ICU, taking care of a patient. This time, I knew what was going on. I could tell you about hematomas, pull up her CAT scan, identify what orders to follow first, what medications needed to be given, and why. It's the ICU, so again, yes, my nurse had said a few words I didn't know. My professor asked a question I didn't know the answer to, and I was starting to feel a little out of my element. But that's when I realized I'm exactly in my element. I may not know everything to do in every situation. I'm not the most experienced or even the smartest nurse out there, but I know I've been here before. I've been fearful and stuck. I've been in that place alongside friends, mentors, educators, and family. With their support, with the glimmers that I see of them, I've learned to adapt, to ask questions, to advocate, to assess, plan, diagnose, intervene, evaluate. Graduates, we don't walk across a stage today, but our accomplishments are just as valuable. Let us take a moment, and even though you can't see them, savor the many faces beaming with pride for us, the many hearts full of excitement for us. With their support behind us, we're heading into new experiences. Yes, we may be heading into an unprecedented unknown, and we know that there will be moments where we are completely out of our element. But let us be filled with the warm glow that being out of our element is our element, and each of us are exactly where we need to be. So congratulations, class of 2020. Let's change the world and hook 'em.